Every year, hundreds of millions of people climb into roller coasters around the world. They trust a machine of steel, bolts, and speed to control the forces that could tear a human body apart. For most, it ends in laughter. For a few, it ends in silence. Somewhere between thrill and terror, between design and disaster, lies a hidden history few dare to speak about. A hat flying off mid-ride, a snapped cable, a missing bolt. Tiny moments that trigger unthinkable consequences. These aren't urban legends or horror stories. They happened at Six Flags, at Disneyland, in London, in Osaka. Each tragedy began the same way, with excitement, with trust, with a heartbeat racing against gravity. And each one ended in a way no one could ever forget. This is the story of how the pursuit of thrill turned deadly. How the rides built to make us feel alive became instruments of death. It was June 28, 2008, a humid summer day at Six Flags over Georgia. Families filled the park, chasing laughter, chasing thrill. Among them was 17-year-old Asia Leanne Ferguson, there with his church group. For most, it was just another Saturday. For Ferguson, it would become the last day of his life. The Batman was one of the park's pride attractions, an inverted roller coaster that suspended riders beneath the track, their legs dangling freely as they sped through sharp turns at 50 miles per hour. It was designed to feel dangerous, yet perfectly safe. That illusion shattered in seconds. During the ride, Ferguson's baseball cap flew off, a small, trivial moment that would spark a fatal chain of events. When the ride ended, he decided to retrieve it. The hat had landed in a restricted zone directly beneath the tracks, clearly marked with warning signs and 2 high-security fences. He climbed over both. Maybe he thought it was harmless. Maybe he didn't realize how close the trains ran above him. As he searched the ground below the track, another train was already speeding toward the same section, its riders unaware of the danger beneath them. At 50 miles an hour, a passenger's dangling leg struck Ferguson's head with devastating force. The impact was instant. Witnesses could only watch in shock as the train continued its course to the station. Park officials rushed to the scene, but there was nothing left to save. Six Flags shut down the Batman immediately for inspection. The following day, it reopened, now with added fencing and more warning signs. But the question remained. Why had a teenager been able to reach such a deadly zone at all? Experts later explained that most modern coasters are designed with zero-clearance zones, areas where a human body simply cannot exist safely. Even one step inside those perimeters turns a ride from a thrill machine into a weapon. Ferguson's death became one of the most graphic reminders of that truth. A moment of innocence met industrial power, and the result was absolute tragedy. It was May 30th, 1972, a quiet afternoon at Battersea Park, London. Children's laughter echoed above the hum of machinery, and the smell of popcorn and oil filled the air. The Big Dipper stood as the park's crown jewel, a massive wooden roller coaster that had thrilled visitors for over 40 years. That day, it would become a symbol of failure, fear, and irreversible loss. Shortly after 5 p.m., the ride began its climb. Dozens of riders, mostly children, waved from the carriages as they ascended the wooden hill. Then, halfway up, something went terribly wrong. The hauling rope, the one mechanism responsible for pulling the cars to the top, suddenly snapped. In an instant, the train began rolling backward. There were no anti-rollback devices, no emergency stops, just raw gravity and panic. Witnesses later described hearing metal screeching against wood before the cars smashed into one another at the base of the track. The impact was violent. 5 children were killed instantly, and dozens more were injured. The screams that had once meant excitement now carried pure terror. Investigations revealed what should never have been possible. The Big Dipper's maintenance was outdated, its safety systems decades behind modern standards. There were no fail-safes, no mechanical redundancy, just a single point of failure that, when broken, sealed the fate of everyone on board. In the days that followed, the United Kingdom was shaken. Amusement park safety was no longer seen as an afterthought, but as a matter of national urgency. For the first time, government bodies began pushing for universal ride inspections and stricter design regulations. The tragedy at Battersea didn't just end lives. It ended an era of blind trust in old machinery. The Big Dipper was dismantled soon after. Its wooden beams were taken down quietly, leaving behind nothing but a flat patch of land and memories too heavy to forget. But the echo of that crash still lives on in every inspection checklist, every redundant brake system, every safety law written since. On May 5, 2007, Children's Day in Japan, Expo Land in Osaka was packed with families celebrating. The air was filled with joy, the rhythm of summer festivals, and the hum of the park's fastest ride, Fujin Raijin 2, or Gods of Wind and Thunder. It was a standing coaster, one of the few of its kind, designed to give riders the sensation of flying upright through the air. But that afternoon, the gods fell silent. At exactly 12:50 p.m., as the train sped into a curve at over 70 kilometers per hour, something went wrong. A single wheel axle on the second car fractured, a small component no wider than a wrist. In a fraction of a second, the car derailed, slammed into the safety rail, and tore apart the illusion of safety that had defined Expo Land for decades. The impact killed 19-year-old Mina Kobayashi instantly. Her friend beside her was critically injured. Witnesses recalled the grinding sound of metal, followed by screams that didn't stop. Not for minutes, not for hours. When investigators arrived, what they found was even more horrifying than the crash itself. The broken axle hadn't been replaced or inspected in nearly 15 years. Maintenance records showed falsified checks, a paper trail of negligence hidden behind corporate efficiency. Japan, a country synonymous with precision and safety, suddenly faced a national crisis of confidence. The government shut down Expo Land immediately. Within weeks, every major park across Japan underwent emergency inspections. Hundreds of rides were temporarily closed. And for the first time in modern Japanese entertainment history, the public began to question whether the thrill was worth the risk. The Fujin Raijin 2 accident marked the end of an era. Expo Land never reopened. Its rusted rides were dismantled piece by piece, leaving only the foundations, and a plaque in memory of the girl who never came home that day. Yet from that tragedy came a new standard for safety, stricter than any before. Japan rebuilt its amusement industry not on excitement, but on accountability, because when machinery fails, it can be repaired. But when trust breaks, it never fully returns. When we step onto a roller coaster, we surrender, not just to the machine, but to the illusion of control. We believe that someone, somewhere, checked every bolt, every wire, every wheel. We believe that excitement can exist without consequence. But history keeps reminding us otherwise. From the wooden bones of the Big Dipper to the steel precision of Fujin Raijin 2, each tragedy carries the same truth. The smallest mistake can rewrite hundreds of lives. In the pursuit of thrill, we often forget how fragile safety really is. Every rule, every inspection, every seatbelt click we hear today, it's written in the blood of those who never made it back to the station. Their stories became regulations. Their last moments became warnings for the rest of us. And yet, we still ride. Because something deep within us craves that edge, that heartbeat at the top of the climb, seconds before the drop. It's the same force that built these machines in the first place: curiosity, courage, and the human need to defy gravity, even for a moment. Maybe that's what makes these stories so haunting. They remind us that behind every scream of joy, there's a whisper of risk, and that every thrill comes with a price, one that someone, somewhere, already paid. This isn't a story about death. It's a story about trust, innovation, and the delicate line between control and chaos. And as long as we keep chasing the sky, that line will always be there, waiting at the top of the next climb. If this story left you uneasy, good. It means you still understand the value of fear, because fear is what keeps us safe, what reminds us to question, to check, to never take safety for granted. Behind every ride you've ever loved, there are teams of engineers, inspectors, and survivors who carry the lessons written in tragedy. They're the invisible guardians of your thrill, the reason you can scream and still come back laughing. But the question remains, how far will we go to chase excitement? How much risk will we accept in the name of entertainment? Because as technology advances, so does our appetite for the extreme. Taller drops, sharper turns, faster speeds. And somewhere, in that endless climb for more, we may once again cross the line we promised never to touch. If you want to explore the stories behind that line, the forgotten parks, the hidden accidents, and the rides that changed safety forever, stay with us. There's always another hill to climb, and another story waiting for its drop.